Hello, everybody. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Just pulled my chair in a little bit further there. How are we doing? I hope everybody is doing well. It's been a fun weekend here in the Lipsham household, and already we've got plenty of people in here before we've even started. 13 of you and 9 likes. That's pretty good. You guys are liking it before we've even started. You have no idea what's coming next, do you? So, yeah, I'm glad you like it before I've even started it. But hey, that's cool. So yeah, plenty of chat going on, which is pretty impressive. So I think Thomas was the first one in the door. But Photography Like Magic is here. Ken is here. Big Ron 865 says hi, folks. Hey, let me start that again. Hey, Ron, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Nice 43. Just Bob is here. Bobby Booth is here, of course, because no show can start until he walks in the door. And he's here. Tony Stringer is here. He says, I'm happy to be here, a whole year older than last time. Fantastic. Happy to have you here too, my friend. Let's see. And of course, Drummer Mike is here. He says, my brain is fried. I can't be in 4 places at once. Well, you know what? I know exactly how you feel. But I'm glad you're here. Let's see. Who else? I think that's everybody. It's always going to be over my head no matter what, says Bobby. No, it isn't, my friend. Not tonight's show, anyway. And in fact, most of the shows that I do here, I don't really go into too terrible much of detail about very much, to be honest. On this show, maybe on the Songwriting Simplified, it might be because you're not really, I don't think you'd ever really class yourself as a songwriter. So probably a lot of what we cover doesn't really apply to you. Because you're a mixer. However, I think learning and knowing about songwriting is going to be helpful for you. So that, you know, as you learn about form and structure in particular, I think is very helpful for mix engineers. Learning about form and structure of a song and mood and those kind of broad picture, big picture things I think are important for mix engineers to learn about those kind of things, because mix engineers can put their skills to work in bringing those parts of and emphasizing those parts of the song out. So having some understanding of how a good song should sound and, you know, how a good song is put together, I think is going to be helpful for you in particular. And I would say that to any mix engineer. You know, learn what makes a good song. What makes, you know, what are the ingredients that make a great song sound good before you've even started mixing, even before you've even got a static mix, even just throwing up the faders and kind of hitting and hoping. You know, what makes the song sound good? You know, and some of that is to do with the recording, and some of that is to do with the arrangement, and some of that is to do with the performances, for sure. But, you know, knowing how a good song sounds and what are the important parts of a song to emphasize, I think is an important set of skills to have as a mix engineer, because you can, you know, that's where, when you get to the back end of your mix, after you've done all of the, you know, getting everything separated out with EQ and compression, and everything sounds great. The song overall sounds, from a sonic point of view, fantastic, and everything is clear, easily heard. No element of your mix is buried unnaturally. Once you've got it to that point, then you can start to draw upon your skills and on what you've learned from the songwriting and the arranging perspective, and that's when you can start to have fun, be creative, and go, hey, there's a little phrase here that could use some emphasis. Well, there's different things you can do to emphasize something. You could maybe have an event effects set to go off just for that particular phrase, maybe a ping pong delay just for that one phrase. Nothing else has it, but that one phrase does. That's a mixing trick. But it's a mixing trick that is born out of understanding why that particular phrase is important from the song perspective. So I think, it's great that you come to our shows like Songwriting Simplified, because it's going to help you. It's going to help you for sure. Some of the harmony stuff, that's probably not terrifically relevant. And you know what? It's absolutely fine, Bobby, if you want to back out of shows where we're talking about things like harmony, or we're talking about improvisation, or we're talking about, music history, or we're talking about history of recording. History of recording, I think, is going to be valuable. But if we're talking about, developments in music over the last 500 years, then that's probably not going to be of great value to you as a mix engineer. Maybe of interest because it's information you've not heard before, but I think by and largely, if, when we do those kind of shows, if you want to duck out, that's fine. I certainly don't have any objection to you ducking out if, there's a subject that we cover that you think, you know what, I don't think I'm ever, I don't think this is anything I'm ever going to have anything to do with, then that's fine. And I don't object to that at all. James R. is here as well, says hi from Australia. Hello from Australia. I've just been watching England against Australia this afternoon in the T20, the second T20. Good game, very good game. I don't know if you're into your cricket, James, but most of my Australian relatives are. So we always have a lot of banter between myself and my Australian relatives when England are playing Australia. And, I'm Scottish, but, the home nation England, which is part of the United Kingdom, and Scotland is part of the United Kingdom as well. England, when they're doing well, I absolutely support them, and you know what? Even when they're doing not so well, I still support them. The only time where I will not support England in cricket is when Scotland are playing England. Then, I don't support England, and I'm quite happy to back Scotland. But England against Australia, England every time for me personally. But I watched that. It was a good game. Let's see. If Talk Room Light Magic says, could you give me a demo of how to catalog your own samples in the browser? That's a great question, and you know what? I have no idea because I don't do that. And I don't think I've ever done that. However, you can use the Files tab in the browser, and you can create a new tab to your specific spot in your computer, so you can have access to any files that you create, and you can just drag them right back into Studio One. I can show you that. That's fairly easy to do. I'll have to get a new song going for that, though, but we can certainly do that. Actually, maybe I don't need to get a new song going. But one thing we do need to do is we need to be over in Studio One so that you guys can see it. So, here we are, Studio One, and this is just kind of this Latin kind of vibey piece. I think I played it a little bit last week, or maybe even the week before. But you can certainly go into your Files tab, and wherever you want to store your samples, I recommend that you have them on an external hard drive rather than your C drive, just because I think your C drive should really be taken up with things like the operating system and applications, and that drive should just be for that purpose, or storing any other kind of non-song, non-Studio One related documents. In this case, I have Dropbox, and a lot of my clients' files are in here, but they are, they're kind of cloud-based. All of that's kind of cloud-based stuff. But let's close Dropbox for now, because probably not necessarily 1,000% relevant. So let's say, for example, shall I do this one? Let's open this one. All right, so let's say I want to create a folder for um, all of my samples that I want to create. Then I probably need to create a new folder. And for some reason, it took a long while for Studio One to access my F drive. Don't know why it did that, but it did. And so anyway, I can. So let's say I've created a folder. Let's say this is it. This is my folder here, 2020 D drive backup, which it isn't really. But let's say that it was. I can select that, and then I can right click it, and then I can go new tab from here. And when I do that, a new tab will appear up here next to where it says Loop Loft. Because Loop Loft is actually a tab where I've got a whole bunch of loops. So loops, samples, kind of similar thing. And you could certainly go and do that. But yes, you could basically just create a new tab, and what will happen is your new tab, in this case, let's say it's my Loop Loft library. My Loop Loft library is stored on one of my external hard drives. But I created a new tab to it so that I could have easy access to any of this stuff and just be able to drag it in really, really easily. Like for example, let's say we like this little thing. Yeah, we probably don't, but let's say we did, and let's say it fitted the vibe of this song absolutely perfectly, then, we can just drag it in. And we can solo the track, and we can... And it's already time stretched to the song, which I think is very, very cool when it does that. Let's turn it down a bit so it doesn't clip. And there you go. It's time stretched to the song, and let's say, hey, actually, we really like that. Let's duplicate that all the way through our song. Bingo. All right, so yeah, and I've just basically dragged that from my collection of Loop Loft loops, which are on one of my external hard drives, and I got to create that by basically doing that little procedure where you right click the folder and you do new tab from here, and then you've just got this completely to hand at any time from the files tab in the browser at any time. So I hope that was helpful. Good question. Very good question. So let's go back over here. Hello again. And let's see. I hope that answers that question. Drummer Mike says, Dave Gilmour makes a song sound good. So does Jeff Porcaro. Absolutely. How do I use those in my mix? Yeah, great question. If you have a fantastic musician like a Dave Gilmour or a Jeff Porcaro or a Jaco Pastorius or a Herbie Hancock or a John Coltrane or a Charlie Parker or anyone that has exceptional talent, you want to make sure that you capture their talent to the highest possible quality you can when you're recording. As my good friend Joe Gilder regularly says, get it right at the source. Right microphone positioned in the right place with the right musician making, playing the right performance of a great song. And you've just done 90% of the mix engineer's job right there, just by doing that, by capturing the best performance with the right microphone in the right place in a good room or a good reasonable quality room, the best you can get for what you have. If it's a bedroom, then make sure you position yourself in the center of the room. Any recordings, make sure you position yourself in the center of the room. If your room is particularly lively and particularly reflective, and those reflections are starting to get into your recording, then you can certainly, I would suggest that you stick up some baffles of some kind, even if they're completely homemade. So even if you're using something like, I don't know, just like a couple of duvets either side of the mic, that would certainly do it. Position them a good couple of feet either side of the mic, and they're going to stop some of those sideways early reflections from your walls, which you probably don't want coming back into your room, into your mic, because you get phase cancellation, you get phone comb filtering. I spoonerized that ever so slightly. But yeah, that would certainly do the job. Let's see. And remember, not everybody is going to like everything you do. Some will always critique. Absolutely. Absolutely. Even if you capture everything flawlessly and the song is fantastic and the musicians are great, the microphones are exactly what you need, and the mix engineer is Bobby Booth, and you get a great mix, and you send it off to Ian Shepherd to be mastered, and then the master comes back and you send it off to be, I don't know, to CD Baby or something like that to be distributed, somebody is going to go, hey, this song is shite. Because that's just the nature of people. And that's just the nature of how we listen. Not everybody is going to listen to the same thing in the same way, objectively. You take two people listening to exactly the same mix in exactly the same room on exactly the same speakers and say, what did you think of that mix? What do you think of the balance of that mix? And they'll tell you, hey, they'll say, hey, maybe the acoustic guitar needs to be a little bit louder. And the other guy will say, actually, I think the acoustic guitar was fine, if actually a little bit too far up front. And that's just the way it is. Not everybody's going to like what you do. So fundamentally, as a songwriter, as a musician, as a mix engineer, you've got to have a thick skin. And you've got to be confident in what you can do. You've got to be confident in your skills that you have to be able to pull off a good mix, to be able to pull off a good recording, to write a good song. And you know what? There are going to be people that don't like it. There are people that don't like this show, for example. I know there are, because at the end of every show, when I'm finalizing the show and I put it up and it uploads to YouTube after the fact, I can see straight away how many dislikes there are. So I know that there are people that don't like what I do, and there are people that don't like my show. You know what? That's absolutely fine. Doesn't really bother me too terribly much, because I know that there are more people that like what I do, and there are more people that like this show than there are people that don't like it. And the people that don't like it, that's entirely for them. If this show doesn't suit them, that's fine. There are plenty of other people they can go and check out. There's Dave Vignola, they can go and check him out. There's Joe Gilder. There's Graham Cochran. There's a whole bunch of people. There's Johnny Guy. There's so many people nowadays that are doing live streams or they're doing tutorial videos. If you don't like what I'm doing, that's fine. Go check out somebody else, because all of these other people are friends of mine. They're colleagues of mine. I work with them. I wholeheartedly recommend you go check them out. And if what I'm doing is not for you, that's fine. Not a problem. Let's see. Rant over. Kelly Winters is here. He says, hi, Johnny. Hi, everybody. Hey, Kelly. Good to see you. Glad you're here. James says, we can't do much. I'm in Melbourne and lockdown is happening. Yeah, you guys have gone back into lockdown, haven't you? That's really sad. I'm very sad to hear that. But I guess it does mean you get to spend a lot more time at home with your family, and you get to spend a lot more time watching Australia play some good cricket. And actually today, even though they lost, they still played some good cricket. So yeah, there you go. Let's see. Mika is here. He says, hello all. I hope everyone is well. Hello, Mika. We hope that you are well too. And we hope that your family are well as well. Let's see. I'm sure there was a question here, and I've probably gone straight past it. I need to go and look. Oh yeah, Diego. Diego says, how do I avoid pumping effect when using a compressor on the master bus? Good question. We can demonstrate that right here with this song. Let's go over and check that out. So here is my fat channel compressor on this master bus. And essentially the best thing to do with any mixed bus compression is not to compress too much. That's key thing number one, is not allow this needle to go much over 4. And personally for me, I like the needle just to be tapped with bus compression. And some of this will be genre specific. So, if you're into thrash, speed metal, death metal, anything, very, very heavy, then probably more bus compression is probably not an issue. And you could probably slam the bus compressor much more. But as for avoiding... Hold on one second. It's okay. I thought somebody was tapping on my door for a minute. Yeah, as for avoiding the pumping effect, this is to do with your attack and release settings for the most part. And so you can adjust those until that pumping kind of goes away, and it's usually to do with your attack as much as anything else. But yeah, so let's just let's take off solo. In fact, let's get rid of that track. Remove track, goodbye. Let's get the fat channel back open again. And let's play this track, and then let's see if we can wreck it. Now you can see here the needle is hardly moving. Now even with it really slamming, it's pretty smooth, right? Now you can hear it pumping. Because I got my attack really fast. Now with the release time pretty fast and the attack time too fast, this is what you can end up with. And it's not nice to listen to, so let's back that all off, shall we? Alright, so there you go. So making sure that your attack, particularly on a mixed bus compressor, is not too fast, is going to be your best friend when it comes to avoiding the pumping effect. But yeah, I mean, I've got this set to 30 milliseconds and then 100 milliseconds here on the release. And this is kind of fairly typical of an SSL bus compressor. And that's the kind of sound that I like, and so yeah, so not having too high a ratio can help as well. I have this set to 2:1, but if you're going for a heavier genre, maybe more aggressive settings will suit that particular style. So there you go. I hope that answers that question, and we'll go back. Thomas says you have 2 here. Amazing they go and watch a show they don't like. Yeah, I know. I know, and I'm pretty sure it's the same 2 people every time. Anytime I put a video out or anytime I do a live stream, they come and they just hit the dislike button. I don't know why they do it. I don't really care. But hey, at least they're watching something of my show. And actually, in terms of the YouTube algorithms and things like that, actually, dislikes can be helpful, believe it or not. They just kind of don't look particularly aesthetically pleasing to see a thumbs down as opposed to a thumbs up. But it doesn't really bother me. It really doesn't. If you don't like what I do, move along. It's fine. Doesn't bother me. But yeah, it is curious that people will actually subscribe to my channel, come and watch my show every Sunday, just so that they can hit the dislike button. Or they will, when I put a video out, they will just hit the dislike button. They will watch the video just to hit the dislike button. It's just... that I don't understand particularly. I think it's a little bit childish. I think it's a little bit petty. Does it actually bother me? Does it upset me? Does it hurt me? Does it make me lose confidence in what I do? No, not even slightly. So, if those two people are still watching, or they watch me say what I'm saying right now, your dislikes do not affect me in the slightest. Normally, I do not draw attention to them. You'll see week by week that I don't ever talk about people who dislike what I do, or people that leave unpleasant comments, or people that say unkind things to me on Facebook, which and they do. People do. I don't know why they do, but they do. And you know what? None of that really upsets me. None of it upsets me. In my life, I have been through an awful lot of people doing very unpleasant, very painful, very horrible things to me. I've pretty much experienced most things that can be done to a human being. And you saying unkind things in a comment or in an email or in YouTube chat or commenting on one of my videos or whatever, you're not going to bother me. You're not going to upset me. You're not going to hurt me. So you're only wasting your own energy, your own effort, and your own time. But that's the end of that subject. To be honest. Let's see what else we have here. Just Bob says, I like the laid-back Q&A style you provide, and when you do tutorials, they are done well and informative. A win all round in my book. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Just Bob. That is very kind of you to say so. And, saying what I just said, I wasn't really fishing for you guys to say nice things. I'm just making a simple statement about those people. Dear Cricodia, my good friend Chris Harwood is here. He says, long time. I'm the king of dislikes on videos. People dislike 8-year-old videos I did when I was pure video internet stupid. Yeah, I know. There are actually a couple of I think my first ever Studio One 3 video, which is like only my second tutorial video, and it was basically just a review. I had literally had Studio One 3 for 48 hours, and this was me basically talking about the things that I immediately liked. And you should go read the comments over on that video and see the number of dislikes it has. I mean, is it a great video? By today's standard that I put out, no, it isn't. But it was my kind of immediate reaction to Studio One 3, having played with it for 2 days. So, there's not a great deal of detail. And I don't really show a whole lot, to be honest, but I talk about the things that I liked in Studio One version 3.0 when it launched. And so, there's a lot of dislikes there, and there's a lot of people making some unkind comments. But you know what? I took those unkind comments and I thought, I can make my videos better. And I did. And my videos are a lot better nowadays. So, yeah. But thank you for that, dear Krika. I'm glad you're here. All right, Kelly says, I have a songwriting question. Go for it, Kelly. I like songwriting questions. I like all questions, actually. But you guys ask the best questions. I like doing these kind of Q&A shows. They're fine. If that's what you want me to do, then let's just carry on this. But if there are specific topics that you would like me to cover, that you think, hey, could you do a demonstration on X? Then please send me an email, johnny@johnnylipshamstudios.co.uk. The web address is below here, and it's just johnny@ jonylipshamstudios.co.uk. Okay? So please do drop me an email and put the subject as Sunday Night Live, and then it won't get lost in all the other emails that I get. So yeah, so please do send me that email, and that will give me a wee bit of time to prepare a good proper demonstration on whatever it is that you have that you would like me to cover. So yeah, please do go for that. Chris says, I did videos, analog versus digital, tons of arguing. It's hilarious. I don't talk in my videos much anymore. They just dislike my music instead. Yeah, well, I mean, we all have different things that we like, and, and at the end of the day, I put videos out to help people primarily, or to express myself, to put something out there that I like. So, the little piece of music you just heard there that we used for demonstration purposes for the mix bus compressor thing, then, you don't necessarily have to like that particular style of music, and that's okay. Not many people are into that kind of style of harmony, or that style of, rhythm and stuff like that. So, hey, people are going to dislike. It is just what it is, particularly now that we have social media. I think maybe social media has taken public opinion, whether positive or negative, and, stuck a magnifying glass over both, and, kind of magnified them by, a factor of 2,000 or something. And so, positive opinion is way up there, much higher than it ever has been in the world. But, likewise, negative opinion about things is much greater than it's ever been, because people suddenly feel a great deal of freedom to say what they want to say about a given subject, and, people find that they have a lot less fear when it comes to typing something out onto a forum or a Facebook group or a YouTube chat or the comments of a YouTube video. There's a lot less fear. They have their little say, and, they can be quite vitriolic sometimes. And I don't think they would be to my face if they came to my studio and they came and sat down with me with a cup of coffee. I don't think they'd be quite nearly so vitriolic, to be honest. Mostly because I'm Scottish and I'm insane, and you wouldn't last 10 seconds with me. But that's a different story entirely. Let's see. What am I missing? Because I'm just waffling. Chris says, I'm not finding my Atom really useful. Am I lame? Hardly ever use it. No, you're not lame. It just sounds to me like you are doing different things these days. And I don't know, maybe you've kind of, the novelty has worn off. I have the Atom SQ sat right here. It's a little bit out of shot. You can't really see it, but it is surely here. I can, I like it. It's great fun, actually. I don't have the actual square Atom. I would like to get my hands on one. Rick Knackvius, if you're watching, please send one. You know where I live. But yeah, I would quite like to get my hands on one of those. But I'm pretty sure, it's like anything new or any kind of new technology. Once you played with it a bit and you kind of go, you know what, I'm not really a beat maker. I'm more a rock and roll kind of guy. I maybe use it to knock up my kick and snare drum and hi-hats on a drum loop, and that's it. And that's all I do with it. The rest of it is done on a keyboard, and then I just get my guitar and I rock out on my guitar. And you're just like, that's all I use the Atom for, is just programming a quick drum beat. yeah, you're using it, but you're maybe not using it as extensively as you thought you might. You're not really gone massively in depth with what it can and cannot do. I've not really got into like all the depth of control that the SQ has, and it has tons of control. It has, MPE and polyphonic expression and all of that the Atom doesn't necessarily have that much. So it's different in that respect. But yeah, I haven't really gone into too terribly much detail about. I mean, all of the knobs on it you can assign to anything. I can probably control Studio One entirely from the SQ and never touch my mouse again. A combination of my fader port and my SQ, I could probably just like that and never touch the mouse. But old habits die hard. Let's see. Now you're super full. That made no sense to anybody. Deer Creek says, now that you're super comfortable with the live streaming, some tips on that. Using OBS, etc. would be great to talk about. Yeah, maybe. I use OBS. I don't use everything in OBS because, frankly, I don't need everything in OBS. Really, I need just a few simple screens. I have this one, and I have this one, and I have this one for ending my show, and I have this one for starting the show. That's all I need. I don't need loads and loads of screens. So, let me just go back. That really is all I need. Now, I could, fire it all off with key commands, I'm sure, but can I be bothered? No. I think this works for me quite nicely. But yeah, I haven't really gone into tremendous amounts of depth with OBS, other than I have some effects on my mic input in OBS. I have an EQ, and I have a compressor, and I have an expander. And that's about it. Let's see. What else is going on here? Photography Light Magic says, today, Craig, I'm addicted to buying controllers that I don't use. I just love them. I will get around to use them. They look good, though. That is for sure. The Atom is a good nightlight. Yeah. It probably is, because it doesn't switch off. There's no off and on switch on it. And what you can do if you don't like it being on all the time, and I don't like the SQ being on all the time, mostly because it gets a little bit antsy about being left on all the time, is, once my computer is shut down, I just pull the USB cable out because it's plugged into the USB port on the top of the computer. I just pull it out. But you can actually have it on a powered USB hub with a power switch, and you just press the little power switch, and that way you're not having to pull the plug. You're just pressing a little button. So you can certainly do that, and that will shut down the SQ or your Square Atom for sure. That is definitely one thing you can do. Lowenz is here. He says, I love my Atom. It's great for beat making hip hop. Yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, that's really its primary design, really, is for beat making and for being able to compose things very, very quickly on the fly. That's really what it's designed for. It probably doesn't appeal to jazz guys like me and rock guys like Chris. They probably aren't really going to have a whole lot of use for all of the control aspects of it. But certainly for what I do, the SQ is really useful. If I need to knock something in quickly, or I need to play something that requires a little bit more of the expressive nature of what the SQ can trigger. If I want something to sound really theremin-like, and I need, the poly pressure to be able to provide some of that, then the SQ is perfect for that, rather than my crappy 28-year-old controller keyboard. For sure. Yeah, it's primarily designed for beat making. Diego asks, how did you decide what you wanted to do for a living? The decision to be a professional musician for me was incredibly easy. For one very simple reason, and that is my parents are professional musicians, or at least they were. They are both kind of retired now. My mother is a singer, dancer, comedian, and she's one of these all-round entertainer types, and she is extremely good at it. And my dad is a guitarist, bass player, vocalist, songwriter, and we kind of formed a family band when me and my sister were kids, and I played drums and some keyboards in the band, and that was it. It was fairly straightforward for me. I wanted to be a professional musician, so that's kind of how I geared my life. I mean, there was one point in my life where it could have gone in either direction. It could have gone professional sport or professional music. And there was a point where I had, one foot in both camps. And then I suffered an injury. I tore my hamstrings, which kind of put me out of action sports-wise for 18 months. And by that time, when I had recovered, I could never get selected again. So that kind of that injury at 18 years old put paid to any hope of a professional sports career. So I was like, great. That's kind of solved that little dilemma for me. And so, I was already working professionally when I was 18. I had been working professionally since I was about 14 or 15. And so, 18 years old, I was taking off in the music world. I was taking off in the sports world. I had to kind of solve that equation. And the injury kind of solved it for me. Painful way to do it, but it worked. And I went to London. I went to university there, and I studied jazz composition and performance. And I also did audio engineering as part of my degree. So I was working in studios from pretty much day one of arriving in London. And so I pretty much threw myself into the London jazz scene and the jam session scene, and working in studios as a session player, and learning the ropes as an assistant engineer. And then when I graduated from university with my degree, I went and started playing full-time professional with a big band. And I did that for several years. And I kept working in studios. By day, I worked in the studio. By night, I played my gigs with the big band. I had a band of my own as well. I had a 14-piece funk soul band of my own. And we played gigs as well. So, I was a busy guy. I was a session player and assistant mix engineer by day. And I was a working musician with 2 bands on the go by night. And I did that for several years. In fact, I did that for, 10 years. 12 years in London. And then I moved back here to Edinburgh, to Scotland, and had to kind of start all of that again. Start building up my career again, and I established my studio here in Edinburgh at that time. So I had my own studio, and found that I could do session work and mixing remotely, so I could work for clients anywhere in the world. And I just built up a roster of clients, and the session work was the bread and butter, because I could send stuff off. I could send multiple tracks off every day to multiple clients every day. And then the mixing work I could do kind of at night. And then, of course, I started the YouTube channel in 2011, I think it was. No, 2014. I started the channel in 2014. and started making YouTube videos. And that kind of took off. And that got me attention with PreSonus. And kind of I started a little partnership with PreSonus. And that kind of grew and grew and grew. And then I started working full-time for PreSonus 6 months ago, whilst keeping my business going. So I've scaled quite a lot of what I do with my business back. So I still do session work, but I can be a lot more choosy about what I do. Same with mixing, can be a lot more choosy about what I do. And yeah, it's worked out great for me so far. And I've been working professionally in the music business since 1988, 89, roughly. So yeah, long time. But that is a good question. Deer Creek says, I haven't upgraded to Studio One 5 yet either. I feel I'm getting out of touch with the world, but I wasn't convinced to buy it. I feel depressed. Oh dear. Maybe Studio One 6 will be killer for me. Studio One 5 is awesome, actually. So many new features in Studio One 5 compared to Studio One 4. And so many things that actually, I mean, the new features, I would say a good 98% of the new features in Studio One 5 came from requests from you guys, from Studio One customers, Studio One users. We scoured the answers.presonus.com feature request page, and we saw what you guys were crazy about, what you guys were excited for, about seeing in Studio One. Plus, we had the Studio One meetups as well. A lot of information from those meetups went back to the guys in Hamburg, and they collated a list, and a list developed into a feature set, and the feature set got built into Studio One 5. And that's how it works, folks. That's how it works. So yeah, it's pretty much 98% you guys and maybe 2% of genius over in Hamburg, where they just came up with something that's just fantastic, that you guys maybe didn't think of. Chris says, I use a USB powered hard, connects a bunch of webcams and other USB stuff that's always on. My Camlink HDMI capture card gets a little warm, so turn it off. Okay. Kelly says, I once learned how to program an Atom knob to scan the list of presets in Impact. I got pretty excited. Yeah, and that's just the first step. You have just made your first step into mapping control knobs to aspects of Studio One. Once you've done your first one, it's like certain other activities. You know what I mean? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more. Salvatore is here. Hello, mate. Good to see you. He says, I got Studio One for Artists with the interface. I upgraded to PreSonus Sphere. Wow, for $14.99 a month is unbelievable. Yes, it most certainly is. PreSonus Sphere is phenomenal. It really is phenomenal. And I have been very privileged to be involved with PreSonus Sphere. And it's just brilliant. It's so good. The collaborative tools that are there, the workspaces, you know what, we have only just begun. Let me tell you that. You know, kind of what you guys now have, if you're a PreSonus Sphere member, you are the early adopters. You are the guys that are the founding members. And we have only just begun. And so what you have now is kind of, it's a little bit bare, it's a little bit basic. But you know what? Go back 10 years to Studio One version 1. Take a look at that. And then compare that to Studio One 5. And see how far we've come in 10 years with developing Studio One. And then think about PreSonus Sphere version 1 and where that'll be in 10 years' time. Imagine. Imagine where it could be in 10 years' time. Good grief. So yeah, we've only just begun. So kind of like the depth of the collaborative tools, you know, we've only scratched the surface. There's loads more that I am sure will be coming. Excuse me. will be coming in the coming months and years with PreSonus. Absolutely. And at $14.99, beg your pardon, it's an absolute steal that you get everything that PreSonus makes, software-wise. You get Studio One 5 Professional, you get everything that goes with that, you get Notion, the latest version, and everything that goes with that. All of the orchestral libraries, everything, all of the add-ons, the works. You get it all, plus you get the collaborative tools, plus you get the exclusive live streams and tutorial videos that Gregor and Joe and others are doing, plus you get access to content that is being made by our PreSonus artists, people like Fluff, who is awesome, by the way. He's got a whole bunch of stuff that you can just download, and it's great. And there's going to be more. So, stand by your beds, is what I would say. Chris says, a good discussion about PreSonus would be interesting. Is it just for collaborating? No, it is not just for collaborating. But certainly that is a big part of it. It's a membership community fundamentally. But yes, you can definitely invite people to your workspace, and you can file share, and you can send stems to one another, and you can work on songs together, and you can chat on the workspace as well. And the only people that get to see it are the people that you invite to your workspace. And if they start getting out of hand, you can boot them from your workspace. You absolutely can. So, yeah. But, I mean, that's one part of it. There are lots of other parts of it. And as I say, we've only just started. Let's see. Yes, exactly. The pro version of Studio One, plus every loop library and everything else, plus... And actually, we have just added two new, whichever way you want me to do it, I don't really care. 2 new products to PreSonus. So if you're a member, you have that stuff in your account right now. But if you're not, you can go out to shop.presonus.com and go and check them out. 2 brand new sample libraries that are epic. Deep Flight 1 for PreSonus, for Presence is amazing. It really is. Gregor did a walkthrough of Deep Flight 1, and it is mind-blowing what you can now do with Presence. If you thought Presence is a little bit bog standard and a little bit basic, Deep Flight 1 is your answer, because no longer, my friends, is it bog standard and basic. Let's see, what else do we have? How do you overcome boredom of repetition when recording music? I can hardly stand it anymore. My attention span is gone. How do you overcome the boredom of repetition when recording music? Make different music. Write different music. Try recording different things. Is all I can say. If you're bored with a particular sound or a particular thing that you do all the time, change it. Do something different. Instead of starting a song with a guitar riff or a drum loop, start it with something else. Reverse engineer the whole process if needs be. Heck, if you're just like, I am so bored of how these drums sound, these drum loops and loop libraries for drums sound, they're all sounding the same. You know what? Take a mic into your kitchen, get stuff out of your kitchen, and create an impact kit. I've done it. My fridge, when you shut the fridge door, makes a wonderful kick drum sound. I have sampled that. I took this mic into the kitchen and I recorded it. And I found a whole bunch of other things that I could do to create a kitchen drum kit in Impact. So all I need to do now is just upload all the sounds into Impact after I process them a little bit. So I'm going to bring them all into Studio One. I'm going to process them all on individual channels. render them, and then drop them into Impact and map them. And it should be pretty cool. I should have a nice little drum set. So yeah, do something different. Let's see. Is Presonus working on a palm mute function within Presence XT for guitar? Now, Chris, you know as well as anybody else that, I can't really talk about anything that's in current development or what is going to be released or when it's going to be released. Can't really talk about this kind of things. But yeah, you never know what might come up. Now in the shop, there are some new guitar stuff in the shop. You can go check those out. There are some new guitar sample libraries. And if you were a member of Presonisphere, you'd already have those. There's a whole bunch of acoustic guitar things, as well as some electric guitar stuff. Diego asks, now that Studio One 5 is out, can I buy version 4 for cheaper? No, you cannot. All of our authorized dealers will no longer be selling it, and the Persona shop will no longer sell it either. In fact, it doesn't. The only way you can get hold of Studio One 4 would be from eBay or from an unauthorized bargain bin somewhere. But if you did that, I can't guarantee that what you get is going to be authentic, or B is going to work as it should, because it's not come from an authorized dealer. And, the other thing is, if you get it from a bargain bin or you get it from some unauthorized eBay seller, they could be selling used keys. In which case the key's you're not gonna be able to register it properly. Or it could be a cracked version of Studio One. And you don't want that, because cracked versions of software tend to install malware and all sorts of other things onto your computer, which can be very damaging to your computer, and you don't want that. So, if you are on an operating system that currently, is not going to support Studio One 5, like if you're on Windows 8 or you're on Windows 7 or you're on Mavericks or something like that for Mac, you're not going to be able to run Studio One 5. So I would suggest that you upgrade that operating system and then to Windows 10 or to, something like Mojave or Catalina, and then you should be good to go. Now, in some cases, some Macs won't go any higher than a particular operating system because the hardware that is built into that machine will not support it. That's daft on Apple's part. Blame them, is what I would say. But yeah, Windows 10 is the only PC operating system that is supported for Studio One now. So, yeah. So you won't be able to purchase Studio One 4 anywhere else, I'm afraid. Let me just take a pause for a minute. We are over time, but I'm prepared to extend the show by a little bit today. Let's see. Ken says, I have Presonisphere, and although I had a few small issues overall, I'm very happy with it. Persona's tech support is very good at weeding out problems. Thank you very much, Ken. We appreciate that. I work in tech support for Presonus, so I very definitely appreciate that. And I was very glad to be able to help you out. It was a combination of tech support and sales that helped you out. And I have some good friends in sales, so we were able to get you sorted out and squared away, and hopefully everything is good at your end now. Old School says, a brief overview of Deep Flight 1 here and now, please. Well, we're actually at the end of the show. However, suffice to say, it's a whole bunch of new sounds and samples that are designed specifically for Presence XT. So when you install it, what happens is you get a whole bunch of new sounds and in Presence XT. And some of them are just pretty awesome. Gregor has a video or two, I think, on Deep Flight 1 on the Personas YouTube channel, so you can go and check those out. That would be the best overview that you're ever going to get on Deep Flight 1. Let's see. John Lake is here. Hello, John. I didn't see you come in. Sorry, buddy. He says, there are a lot of friends from the past I would like to work with again. Great. Yeah. You know what? I was only thinking something similar just recently. One of my very, very good friends is a guitar player called Tim Rose. He's a guitarist and bassist, and he is exceedingly a great musician. I have known him since 1988. He is a great guy. He is a great musician. He has recently been working with Toya Wilcox, the singer-songwriter, and she's a bit of a petrol head as well. He's been working with her, but he also plays in a lot of the hit West End shows in the orchestra pits. He's a great guy. He was up in Edinburgh touring with that Michael Jackson show. I can't remember what the darn thing is called. But anyway, he was up here not so long ago, and he and I used to play in a big band together when we were in our teens. And he's a terrific guy, and it was really great to reconnect with him as, you know, much older, in our 40s kind of that we are now, with, you know, wives and kids and responsibilities and all of that. And yeah, so he played on a couple of my records, and I would really quite like to get him to play on another one of mine, because he's really, really good. Ken says there's a lot from Deep Flight 1 that I missed at first. Someone, probably Gregor, did a video on where to find all that stuff from it. Definitely check that video out. Absolutely. Yeah. I would say go to the Personas YouTube channel, and in the search box, I would just type in Deep Flight 1, and you're bound to find videos on it. For sure. Absolutely. But yeah, Deep Flight 1, and there's new thing as well. I'm trying to remember what it's called. Hang on just a minute. Let me go and see if I can remember what it's called. Bear with me just a minute. I'm going to go and open Persona Sphere. What's it called? Street Conductor, Volume 1. That's what it's called. Let me wait for this to load up, and then I'll show you it. Or at least show you kind of what it's about, if I can get the darn thing to load up. Okay, why are you not loading up? Go back to View Products. Add-ons. Come on. Here we go. Alrighty, I will show you this, and then we'll call it that. After I show you this. Here you go. This is Street Conductor Volume 1. Combines the grit and bombast of hip-hop's most prized drum machines and synthesizers with haughty strings, piano and brass. The result is an ominous-sounding minor key collage of sonic textures that aren't often heard together but complement each other very well. I wonder who wrote that. Certainly was not me. But nice pretty palm trees. I wonder if that's like San Francisco or somewhere. I don't know. But yeah, this is a sound set again for Presence, I think. But yeah, brand spanking new. It's only like a week or so, a couple of weeks old. But yeah, it's included in Personasphere membership. But it's also in the shop as well. you can go and check that out over there. Let's go and see actually how much it is. Software. View. What am I looking? Let's just do view all. View all, and I can go find it. See if I can find it. Okay, I'm gonna go and search for it. What was it called? Street Conductor? Street Conductor. There it is. Compatible with Studio One Prime Artist and Professional version 355 and higher. 5 construction kits in audio loop format. 52 24-bit audio loops, key and tempo label, 24-bit drum and percussion one-shots, which are wave format. 5 Impact XT and Atom kits, and you need to have Studio One 4 Artist or higher. And there you go, there's kind of like all the file size and everything else, and there's a little sample here. That's probably insanely loud because I just realized that was absolutely slamming the output of OBS. Sorry about that. But there you go. That's kind of a little 5-second flavor. And it says here £27.72, which is going to be about what? $35, $40? Don't think it's going to be very much more than that. But there you go. That is Street Conductor. And it's pretty epic, really. But we can do a search for D-Flight 1. See if there are any samples for that. This one's like nearly £100. Let's play a little bit of the. So there you go, a little bit of a flavor of D-Flight 1 right there. So I hope that was helpful for you. Since I did promise that I would check that out for you. So yeah, hope that that's been useful and helpful for you. But yeah, we're pretty much at the end of the show now. I want to thank everybody for coming, and it's been really great chat, really great questions, really great conversations. If you like these kind of Q&A style shows, I will keep doing them. If not, then please give me some subjects to cover, and we can spend like shows going into more detail on a particular subject if that's what you guys would like. So yeah, can certainly do that. Thanks very much for coming. I will see you on Wednesday over on the Home Studio Trainer YouTube channel for Songwriting Simplified. I'm not sure what we're going to cover yet. I need to talk to Jonny about that this week, like obviously before Wednesday. But yeah, we'll have something figured out for you before Wednesday. So yeah, it's going to be a good show. They usually are. They're usually very entertaining and informative, and I love doing those shows. So I'll see you over there. Otherwise, I'll see you also over on Facebook. If you've not been to my website, please go and check it out. Website address is below. Please go and check it out. If you have not got your free compression course, go hit that red button and you will be able to go and get that and enjoy learning from it, because it's my old, basically I had an old compression series from about 5 years ago, and I decided when I revamped my website that I would revamp that compression series. So it is brand spanking new. It's not the old one from ages ago. So I hope that was helpful. Get Songs Done says, did a deep dive on that. Deep Flight 1 sounds are very rich. Yes, they most certainly are. They are amazing. And I've used a few of them in various settings. Just recently, actually, I was working on a student film. Thanks be to God that the university is open again and the film students are back working, because it means that I get to work on their films, which is another fun thing that I like to do. So yeah, I used a little bit of Deep Flight 1 for one particular short film. It's great. Worked out perfectly. It was exactly what they wanted. And you know what? I would have spent hours trying to create those sounds using the Presence editor. Would have taken me hours to do it. But Deep Flight 1 is perfect for what I needed. So there you go. I will see you all next week. Bye for now. Good night, folks.